Welcome to the Miss Esquire podcast, a community that truly believes your network is your network. I'm Riza Vargas, and I am your co-host for the podcast.
My name is Trish Widowfield. I'm the Vice President of Miss Esquire, and I'm also your co-host.
And a little bit about Miss Esquire is that we started back in 2015, originally for women attorneys. Today, we have over 11,000 women attorneys in our platform, and we have chapters in South Florida as well as New York, and now virtually all over the world. So if you want to be a part of it, you want to join our community that really truly believes in business and growing and expanding your network, you can email us at admin@missesquire.com. But we always like starting our podcast by giving thanks to the two incredible people who made it possible for season 2.
So our sponsors are Professional Interpreting Associates, who provides interpreting and translation services across all industries to help make effective communication.
Yes, and our other sponsor is Vasquez de Lara Law Group, which specializes in all family law matters. And today we have a very special guest who's also our sponsor, but we're really excited to have her back today. Pat Gutierrez is the founder of Professional Interpreting Associates, and she is not only an incredible person, but she's also a mother. She is also a friend. She's a colleague. We've loved having her. She's also an original member from our group. So 4 years ago when we launched the in-person chapters, Pat signed up to be a part of our community. So really excited to have her today. And I don't know if you guys watched season 1, but in season 1, we had an opportunity to already interview her and ask her why she truly became a translator. Because it's not really like a career that a lot of people know about unless you're like in the legal industry, but you don't really hear about it. I feel like that often. So she spoke about in her first season, which I loved, the reason that she became a translator, which was personal to her. And she was translating since like the young age of
12.
eight. Okay. For her entire family and friends in the neighborhood. And then she was like, this is such an invaluable thing that people really truly need. And I think even in the height of our culture right now with what's going on, I can't even express the importance of having somebody where they feel like heard and seen, and how important it is to like be able to like have your voice in a lot of different aspects, not just legally, but in just everything, and everything, especially for our community. So I love that about you. But today we're going to kind of switch gears and really talk about more about the fundamentals of becoming an entrepreneur and about your business. And but I did want to touch before Trisha goes into her questions all about, especially with everything that's happening right now, how impactful has it been to be a voice in communities?
Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me back. I really enjoyed episode 1. I think this is such a great platform to get to know the members a little more,
Yeah.
to have more of a personal relationship with them. This is very, very important for our marketing group, for our group. And
Yeah.
yes, I feel that with what's going on in the world, we are always there for sometimes the most vulnerable moment in these people's lives. And with immigration, especially nowadays, I always tell our clients, even if you don't hire us, just make sure you have an experienced immigration interpreter. You want to go in there thinking about how you're going to answer your questions, not having to worry about, are they interpreting my answers correctly? And if you think about it, one word can change the whole influence of a sentence.
Right.
For example, you can say complains of pain or is stating that they're in pain, and that changes the whole meaning of that word.
Right.
And now in immigration, it's really important to make sure that you have the right person there saying the exact thing you want to say.
So Pat, why don't you tell us about what inspired you to go from being a translation provider to actually starting your own business?
I saw the need. I saw that there was a gap. I saw that interpreters were not upholding the standards that interpreters must have. And our clients, our attorneys, they need to focus on what they do, not having to worry about whether the interpreter will show up, whether the interpreter is doing a good job. It also has to do with protecting the attorney's reputation, because the attorney hires you and you are basically their representative. So it's about that too. It's about protecting our clients' reputations.
Yeah.
And at what point did you decide that you weren't just going to start a company, but you're actually going to create a brand?
Yes, I think it happened when I found that people were asking for professional interpreting associates more than just an interpreter or just Pat. We have very high standards, and it shows in the interpreters that we have. They all have to be prepared. They have to be on time. They have to be knowledgeable. And I think that is the brand is that. It's about standards. It's about integrity, and it's about ethical.
So speaking about branding, I think this is so important because you can base your entire brand and career around something, but sometimes your employees or the people, and you have to you work with a lot of interpreters in different, languages. So I find as an entrepreneur myself that it's difficult because no one cares about their brand as much as the owner, right? We can all agree. At least it feels that way, right? And so it takes such a long time to get business and like 2 seconds to lose it, right?
So true.
So how do you work, when you're working with so many different type of interpreters to make sure you're consistent on the product you guys are delivering, the brands of your company? I feel like that's something difficult when you have to manage so many people.
Yes. Well, we have about 400 interpreters on our roster, so it's very important to me to personally vet each interpreter. I have a meeting with them. I test their knowledge and what are their standards again. The other thing is creating a culture, and I think that's the second part of having a brand. You have to know what you are standing up for. And when you have we call it the PIA culture, and that is making sure that everybody feels heard, everybody feels a part of the team. For example, tomorrow is my receptionist's birthday. We will make a big deal about it. If an interpreter is a first-time grandmother, we send flowers. Because we are in the background. It's the interpreters that are. It's no longer Pat the interpreter. It's
Right.
professional interpreting associates. So I want to make sure that whoever represents us has the same standards and feels as valued as I do. And I think that's where our company is different. We all create that ownership. We all are accountable for every single thing. And my employees feel, I think they feel just as much part of or they are the person of professional interpreting associates as much as me.
And I almost missed it whenever you said the PIA standard. PIA means professional interpreting associates,
Yes,
right?
yes. We call it the PIA culture. We have a list
I
of
love
things what does PIA stand for? And we all write down whatever. And then in our meeting, we talk about it. And I think it's about, again, making everybody feel special and heard.
Can you give us some of the examples of what the PIA culture is? You said that you have a list.
Yes. We have found that being a step ahead of whatever is going,
So
being
important.
completely prepared for anything that might happen, whether it's a deponent fainting at
Wow.
a deposition, which has happened to me, whether it's getting a call on a Sunday at 5:00. I have a trial tomorrow. I didn't know I needed an interpreter. We got you. It's about, like I said, being a step ahead, but also everybody is important. Everybody needs to be
Yeah.
heard, whether it's a client, an interpreter, or just a vendor.
I love that because I feel like one of the things that people miss in business too is that they are not treating all of their clients like they are all as equally important, and communication being like the number one thing. Because and I tell myself all the time, I'm like, we need to be so communicative with our clients, communicating along throughout the entire process and step of the
Right.
way, because otherwise they feel like you don't want them to ever be like, hey, they haven't reached out.
But at the same time, you want to have as much communication as possible, but you want to make it easy for them.
Right.
You
Of
don't
course.
want to be harassing them. Can
Of
we get the
course.
notice? Can we do,
Yeah.
a lot of emails. We want to be concise.
Yeah.
And that's why we have so many systems in place. We know how to handle each or we try to handle each scenario so we're prepared. And we have systems and we have processes so that, yes, things can go wrong, but the percentage is very minimal if you're prepared.
Right.
I love it.
And we can tell by the way you talk about the culture and, your integrity, your values, you really pride yourself on white glove service. Tell us what that means in the interpreting industry and why it matters.
White glove service to me is my clients not having to worry about interpreting. That's basically it. It's about one step ahead. It's being there. What do you need? We got you. We're good. You just handle your profession. We will take care of yours. White glove also means the processes, having the processes in place and being ready for anything that comes along, but also having standards. We don't hire every single interpreter out there because they just don't meet the PIA culture, which is making everybody feel special. Each client is special to me because every opportunity of communication can build a friendship, can build a relationship, can make somebody's life better in some way.
You know what I love is so for anybody who's listening who's not an attorney and hasn't had an opportunity to use interpreting services, which you can use it for a lot of things, because sometimes people don't realize that they just need a mortgage translated. And that's an aspect that you guys can do too. It could just be written too, where people need to be able to understand what they're signing. But for us that are attorneys, we've had to use attorneys in depositions in a courtroom, hiring in an intake, to hire different clients. What's amazing about Pat is that she doesn't just do Spanish and English. She has people that can do everything from German to Russian to
Patois.
to
Patois, yes.
So to many different languages. But it's so important because in most of the aspects for us attorneys, they are translating things that are really important.
Right.
It could be something, where they had a medical malpractice issue, or it could be in the middle of a criminal issue. It could be in an immigration issue.
Right.
So what you're translating could drastically change their life.
We Yes, that is true. I was just thinking when we interpret every different scenario you could think of. We had this gentleman who was in love with a Russian woman. They met online and we interpreted their messages back and forth.
That's beautiful.
Isn't that beautiful? So it's not only legal and it's not only medical and
I love
it's not
that.
industrial. It's also, again,
Personal.
helping build a relationship.
That's beautiful.
yeah.
Hopefully they weren't sending any weird messages. That's the only thing that came to my mind. I was like, okay, well
Also,
then.
when we translate prenuptial agreements or adoption
Right.
hearings, those are some of my favorite.
Oh, I love
I
Imagine.
love to see the parents and their joy of being
Right.
being able to adopt a child, or when you see a new couple that's getting ready to get married and they're signing a prenuptial agreement and the joy. We're there for everything.
I love it. You know what? Trish actually brought this up to me earlier. You want to talk about what's on all her emails? which
Yeah.
I think
So I
is
love
great.
your tagline where it says excellence isn't accidental.
Yeah.
So how did you come up with that and what does it mean to you?
I think excellence is intentional
So good.
more than accidental.
Yeah.
We thrive on wanting to be excellent, but we have to have the intention. We have to have
100%.
the processes. We have to have the systems. We have to be cohesive too, because what is excellent to you might not be the same to me. So we have to make sure that we are all on the same page.
So good. I feel like sometimes people miss the mark, on and it's interesting that you said what's excellent to you. It's I also think the standard is when things are pretty
Yes.
close to perfect and no one can complain about it. That's so key. But your work is everything. It's it's your reputation, it's your integrity, it's everything you built, and people miss that. If you miss one step of what I mentioned earlier, it's so difficult to get a client and it's so easy to lose it that you have to take so much pride in the work that you put out there, right?
And I just thought of something else that's a PIA culture. Interpreters have to feel that it's their vocation, not just a job.
I love
That's where
beautiful.
interpreting really changes. That's when it matters, when you realize the impact that you have. So it has to be, interpreting is not easy. It's not just being bilingual. It's
No.
so much more. It's being prepared for each assignment. It's looking up terminology or reading about the case if it's a trial. So I think it's about a vocation more than profession. And when you talk about reputation, I always say this: reputation precedes you.
Yeah.
Right.
And if they say professional interpreting associates have come through for me for so many times, and then they will refer you to another attorney or another client.
Yeah.
Or I get a call from an insurance company and says, my defense attorney will only work with you.
Right.
That's how it is. And it's built case by case. It's
Yes.
not something that's overnight.
Yeah, referrals are so important. I love that you brought that up because I feel like business, so that you can do marketing, you could do advertising, and we stress this a lot in our community, in our group, but referrals are the best way
Right.
and the easiest way to get business. If you do a great job for somebody else and they're willing to refer you out, it's already like you're sold to that person, because they're like, I trust this person, and that person by default trusts you. In a marketing ad, people don't know you. So you're do an entire campaign, but that person doesn't have a trust with anybody. So it's different than like, they're like, hey, my friend Trisha recommended Riza,
Right.
then that's going to come a long way. So I love that you kind of have built your business also on that and in that culture. I mean, tons of people are standing
Yeah.
up in our group on a monthly basis and talking all sorts of testimonials about you, which I think is really important. But how has that helped your business?
My business has grown from referrals more than marketing. I really have
imagine.
never done any type of marketing except for networking. And the only networking I've done has been with Miss Esquire.
Really? I didn't know we were the only networking you've done.
I've tried, but it's
Doesn't
just
it
not
fit?
the same. No, it's not. It doesn't fit into what I believe in,
Yeah.
which is upholding my profession, but also uplifting the other
I
members.
love it.
All of us working towards the same goal, which is creating an atmosphere where it's just fertile ground. It's where we all help each other, where we all are happy for everybody's success. And that's what I found in Miss Esquire that you just don't find anywhere else.
And I love that you're talking about your reputation precedes you, because before we even met you, we actually knew you
Yeah.
just because of your reputation that you've had amongst
group.
our community online, and so many people had recommended you. So it was like, we're meeting royalty.
Thank you.
Translation royalty. Yeah. It was great. I remember when Walter, who's her son-in-law, was like, yeah, Pat actually knows about your group. And because our Facebook group, for those of you who are listening, is only open to attorneys. Our in-person group is open to non-attorneys. But at the time, when he recommended you, he's like, yeah, Pat knows about your group. And I was like, really? And then I looked you up when we were on the phone, and I was like, oh, she comes out everywhere.
Right.
So it's pretty amazing how, to your point, you could be spoken in rooms you've never walked in.
But yes, that's true. But reputation is not built overnight.
Right.
Like I said, it's day to day, and it's always showing up prepared and on time and ethically being there for clients. So I didn't even know about that, but I knew that I wanted my name to be compared to excellence within my profession.
Love it. How do you protect your culture as you grow? So talk to me a little bit about, obviously when you first started, you didn't work with 400 translators. So how have you learned to protect your culture as you expand, and you grow? How do you protect your culture?
We protect our culture with every single email, with every single message, and with every single call. Again, the culture is being one step ahead, having processes and systems in place, and everybody being on the same page. If an interpreter does not fit our standards or our PIA culture, then they can't be a part of our team. And that's where it was a little difficult in the beginning, because we didn't know how to go about selecting what we wanted our culture to be. So we had to really sit down with ourselves and say,
Think about it.
okay, what does it mean to be great at what you do? What does it mean to have a culture? First of all, because that's the first thing you have to know, right? What it means.
Yeah. And what are you delivering to the
What are
client?
you delivering?
What's the end result? I think that's great.
And as far as, creating that culture and creating the systems, I mean, you obviously have a passion for interpreting and translating. How has it been for you to kind of remove yourself from that and go into more of the role of the business owner?
Yes. I had to stop thinking of myself as Pat Gutierrez, the interpreter, and I had to think of myself as the founder, president of Professional Interpreting Associates. Number one is you have to learn how to delegate. But in order to delegate, you have to have the right people.
Right.
Yeah.
They have to have the same vision that you have. I am fortunate. Jennifer is great at building systems. Alejandra is perfect at knowing each and every of our clients so that she knows exactly what they need. She knows our interpreters very well. Tracy in accounting, she knows how to get what each client needs for their own accounting. I think that's how you can grow as a business owner, when you delegate.
So I love like this kind of season 2. We're really focusing on the entrepreneurial spirits,
Right.
but also maybe some of the hurdles. So what do you think is the most difficult thing that you encountered? How long have you had your business open?
20 years.
20 years.
Oh, wow.
Okay. So I could learn a few things
But
from
can I
Pat.
just say that it has grown tremendously in the past 5 years.
Really?
Miss Esquire has had a lot to do with
That's
growth.
amazing.
I appreciate
But
it.
a lot of the challenges that I have, or I still have, is growing enough without compromising your standards.
So good.
It is so important to sit back and say, okay, we're growing, but are we still
Providing the same.
providing the same excellent service? And what do we have to do in order to still do that, right? Do we need another staff member? And I've told you this before. I truly believe in, if you build it, they will
They'll
come.
come.
If I can see a little bit of where it's almost like a energy compressing and you need to let it out, and what do you need? Well, maybe you need to have another staff member, and that'll be the growth that you need in order to go to the next step. And I found that and it's intuition too. It's about, okay, I see that now we're going more towards immigration than we are towards medical. Okay, let's focus our efforts a little more on being excellent immigration interpreters. And then the business will come.
Yeah. I love
And you've talked about, your integrity, your culture, your strive for excellence, but in general, how do you build the long-term trust with attorneys, with healthcare providers, with your clients?
Protecting them. I really believe that we are their partners in their success. It is important that they trust us, that they know that a qualified interpreter will show up, that they will do what they need to do. They will not exaggerate. They will not gossip. They will not.
Right.
It's just very important to be ethical. And I think that's where our long-term relationships with our attorneys, is still there, because they know
Right.
what PS stands for.
Well, and I also think it's really important, as somebody who only speaks English, I feel vulnerable whenever I'm in a situation, where there's a Spanish interpreter and, there's another attorney in the room saying, well, that's not what they said. And I feel, like I said, vulnerable because I don't know enough of the language to be able to say that. And if I didn't have the right interpreter, then, that
You don't know if they're
hearing-
neutral.
Yeah,
You don't
exactly.
know if they're being impartial. You don't know if they're interpreting in a way that might help the other
Side,
opposing
exactly.
counsel. You have to be very careful. And that's where I saw the need too. I saw the need of my clients knowing that even though they are my clients, we are there to do a neutral and an impartial job, whatever comes down to it. It's we have to hold our profession.
Yeah. Yeah. I've sat in depositions where, by the way, even if you are, you're bilingual, you still need to get an interpreter for the client, because a lot of
Right.
people are always like confused. They're like, well, why don't you interpret? I was like, oh, no. No, we are not. It's funny because I can speak Spanish, but then like anything legal, I guess I don't say as often as it's not something that you are
Right.
using in your everyday language. So you need to make sure that you can even translate a lot of the legal terminology
Right.
for the client to understand what the judge or the mediator or whoever in the room is telling them.
Right.
So I think that's really another really important aspect. And I find that oftentimes, so many times I've caught interpreters that weren't good pre-pat,
Mhm.
that I was like, that's not what the client just said. You know, you have to stop and like have them retranslate, or that they didn't cut parts of it out because they'll cut like things that are important out. And you want that to be on the
Right.
record.
Or like I said, one word can change the whole
Mhm.
meaning of a sentence.
Yeah.
If, like I said, if somebody says complains of pain versus stated that they are in pain, that makes a big difference,
Right.
right? Especially in medical malpractice. Yes, and I truly, I that's the other thing that I believe is that everybody in the room needs to feel that they are being heard and they are being understood.
Understood the
And
interpreter.
you can only do that if you have, and that's where I have a hard time with, because people think that just because you're interpreting, or I'm sorry, you're bilingual, you can interpret.
No,
Right.
you
And
cannot.
there's such a big difference. And so you'll hear bilingual people say, I'm an interpreter, but they're not. And that's, I'm very picky
That
about
that was
that.
like my joke when I mentioned to you that I one time said deposición instead of,
Yes. Yes, that's right. Exactly.
deposition, and that does not mean the same thing.
No, but and also, as the attorney in the room, you have the right to say, "No, I'm sorry, that's not what, my client said," or whatever,
Right.
but it really changes the whole dynamic in the room, and then
Yeah, it
a lot
does.
of times, the interpreter will have a bad, attitude, or, it's just something
Yeah.
where a lot of times you have to worry about, okay, do I halt these proceedings because this isn't how, this is not what my client said, or do I continue with this person I don't really trust?
But can I tell you, a professional interpreter would not get mad. And a professional interpreter would say, I stand by my interpretation, or I stand corrected.
Okay.
We are not machines. We're human beings, and we
course.
don't have to have every single word right there and then. That's why we have dictionaries. Well, we no longer carry dictionaries, but it's okay not to know, and it's okay to make a mistake, because that also is part of integrity and
Right.
about being ethical, right? It's okay. It's
Yeah.
fine. It doesn't make you less of a professional.
Yeah, I love that. I've seen one time an interpreter be like, "Give me 1 second, I need to look it up to make sure." Because in Spanish even, there's like 17 different versions
Exactly.
of saying something. And so, I mean, she was a great interpreter, but the other person, for example, was from another country. And so she's like, wait, let me just see what she meant.
And you
by
want to
this.
make sure, right? You want to take that second to make sure that you're interpreting the correct terminology.
So let's go back to a little bit. I love talking to entrepreneurs and learning about them. And I feel like every year teaches me a new lesson that I need to learn, potentially the hard way, because you don't know what you don't know. Like, I feel
Right.
like when you open a business, you have no idea what you're doing. And then, you learn more things like hiring slow, firing
Firing
fast.
fast.
So lots of different things that you need to learn the hard way. But what is one lesson that you had to learn the hard way that obviously she's like,
Oh, I know what it is.
yeah, what? Tell me.
Boundaries.
Okay.
Boundaries. It's when you start off, you say yes to everything and anything. You just want the business, you just
So
want
good.
the client. And then as you develop your culture, then you realize that maybe every client is not what you stand for. And it's hard to put boundaries, and that's what I had to learn the hard way. Not only with clients, but also with interpreters, with staff members. You have to know how to create boundaries, because your standards are not compromised when you do that.
So good. I need to learn a thing or two about boundaries.
We all do.
Yeah.
But can I also say,
Yeah.
we learn every day from our group, our chapters.
Right.
It's funny how we're all somehow connected, because somebody will get up, another attorney will get up, and we'll talk about an issue that we all have.
face, yeah.
And it's, how do you know what I'm thinking? It's because we're all entrepreneurs. We're all growing every single day. When we stop growing, then it's not worth.
You know what I
being
loved
in
at the
business.
very beginning of this conversation? You were mentioning that like your whole team needs to be a part of the same vision, right? And I think that that is the hardest thing when you hire people, because people don't see your vision. Or so I've actually trained myself to ask this question now when I interview people. And just recently, I'm telling you, like in the last 3 months, I've learned to ask this, like, what is your dream job and what's like your long-term vision? And the reason why I want to know is like if their vision is already in their like in our interview that they want to do something else. I'm like, well, this is not the person for us, right? But I think vision is so important because, I go to church, and one of the successes of why our church has grown is everybody is a part of the vision, right?
Exactly.
And they have brought everybody onto the vision, and it's like everybody building brick by brick, something that is so important to, and it identifies, it's a part of everyone's identity. And so vision culturally, I think in a business is also so important, because if everybody is just collecting a paycheck, like you said, then the business cannot grow. Like, you need to have people on your team. And I think that's probably one of the hardest things in business, that I think for any business, that we've had to learn along the way.
It's very unusual when you have a group where the boss says, guys, it's time to go home. We can finish this tomorrow. And I have that almost every day.
Oh my God, I love
My
it.
staff is there until 6. And I go, we can look, the work will be there. Let's just go tomorrow. Let's go rest. No, but I just have to finish this. And I think it's that vision. It's that passion for professional interpreting associates to succeed,
Yeah.
because we know that if I succeed, you succeed, we all succeed.
Agreed.
It's that vision of we're all important and we're all a piece of the puzzle.
Can you come like hire everybody for me?
Oh, it took many years. But it's that passion for everybody to grow together.
You know what I think is, and some people don't recognize it, and maybe you can give a little bit of advice about somebody who wants to like start a business. And sorry, I went totally off script over here, Trish, but like, I think what was good is, how you do something is how you do all things,
Yeah.
right? Like,
That's
before I started my business, and this I know about Trisha, because Trisha, she works at a really big firm, but she's been hardworking since way before I met her. It's one thing we both had in common. But how you work for other people will also be how you work for yourself, right? Like, people think it's going to shift, which is not true. So tell me a little bit about what advice, if any, you have for like people that are trying to go off on their own, what kind of
Right.
discipline you have to have. Because at the beginning, it's hard. You're like doing all the things. You are the interpreter, picking up the phone, scheduling the thing, and I don't think people realize how much work it is, especially the first 5 years.
I think the most important thing is to master your craft. If you cannot be an expert unless you've lived it,
Right.
you've gone through every single scenario that can happen in your profession. And and there's also about being a calm authority where you know what you're talking about. You cannot be a business owner. You cannot stand for something if you don't really know it,
Right.
right? And I think that's where that's my first advice. Know your craft. Be comfortable in having people call you and just ask questions about, can you answer them? And even if you don't know them, let's find out together
Right.
how to resolve this. Because there's always going to be challenges, but you have to be accountable and you have to know that everything is results driven. You can find the result. You can find the solution. That's what I meant, to any challenge that might come up.
And, when we were talking about, the lessons that you've learned, and you were talking about our community and how we all stand up, and so many of us have very similar challenges or lessons learned. I don't know if you were part of the last virtual Zoom that we had, and we just basically did a think tank of having people say what kind of challenges they've been facing. And, it was just amazing to me to see how many others either faced them or had overcome them and had great advice to offer.
And I don't know if we really realize how much impact what we say in our groups has.
Yeah.
For example, Riza said, I go in every day and I post, I tag members, and I started doing that. So
That's great.
there are little things that, and that might be more business to somebody. We don't know if it happens or not, but we go with the intention of it being that way. And so there are little things that are being said by each of the members that really impact our lives and our professions.
Yeah. And I think that the heart behind that is just going with the intention of trying to help somebody else, which is what I think it's funny because I think the culture of Miss Esquire is something I love. I'm still growing and learning how to build the culture of my business, like in my law firm. Whereas the culture of Miss Esquire, I think we've done a really
Yes.
good job where it's not, we don't do it seeking something of like self-interest, but really to try to help other people. So people ask me like, why are you trying to tag 365 times of the year? I was like, maybe it'll impact my business or not, but it will impact the culture.
Right.
And that is more important to me because I want us to think about other people and their success. As they grow, we lift each other up. You know what I mean? It's everybody lifting each other up, right?
I also think that the Miss Esquire culture is about we all succeed together.
Yes.
Mhm.
We all succeed together. We all celebrate everybody's small or big
win.
Right.
big wins.
And I know
That's-
you were so sad to miss the gala this year, but that's one of the most special things. And
I'm not missing this. I
You are
promise you, I am not.
but that's why it's so special, is because everyone is there to really celebrate
Celebrate.
each other,
Yeah.
and not ourselves.
Do you remember, Pat, when we first started the group 4 years ago? So I actually went to YOLO with her. My mom went.
Yes,
and
yes,
I don't know.
do.
And so we sat in a table and we were talking about trying to get referrals.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
at the time, it was like the very beginning of the group, and she had not gotten any referrals yet, or maybe had gotten like one or
One
two,
or two.
something. Yeah.
Mhm.
And what do you think shifted? Because obviously that has drastically changed. But what do you think shifted?
Drastically. Okay. I think it's about creating relationships.
Mm.
It's about, okay, I know now you are the interpreter. Now I hear what other people are saying about you, and I will give you a try. I think what has also changed is being more visible.
Okay.
I know I've told you before, I'm used to being on the background. This is not, interpreters are not used to being in the
Standing up.
forefront. Yes. And I think it's, when I've had to do it on a monthly basis, it's given me more self-assurance. It's giving me more self-confidence. So wherever I go, I take that self-confidence now because it's part of me now. It's like anything you learn, you do it until it becomes a habit, right?
You know what I think probably one things that I have found in the last 4 years, being honest about you, is that I don't know that a review is something, but to hear the review in person is like a completely different thing, right? So being in a room where people are speaking about you and how they really perceive you and your business, and that's completely different than seeing it like maybe on a Google review.
Right.
And so
So I
I've
get to
seen
the
you-
car.
Yeah.
I get to the car after lunch and I'll tag my staff. I feel like the cool kid in high school. Everybody was mentioning us. And they all, and you know, they go, yes, you shine. No, we all shine. And
Right,
that's what I always say. It's about all of us. It's
Of
about
course.
everybody doing their part. But it's so funny because even though I would hear attorneys say, I only want you in my case, or I only work with Pat, then you hear it from people that haven't worked with me in so many years say it. It does. It fills me with pride because it is my vocation.
But you absolutely deserve it, because you've obviously taken so much time and years, and like you've always said, it's your integrity and your pride that has really driven your business. So all of your success is something that you deserve.
Oh, thank you, Trish.
Of course.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I think business is not built overnight. It's built with many, many years of like sacrifice. It's funny because Trish and I are like the networking queens. But I didn't know that seeds that I planted 10 years ago would lead to where we are today, and vice versa. She didn't know that like 500 lunches and strangers would lead to her being so well known in like medical malpractice. But I think that there's so much, even watching you grow in 4 years and planting seeds. I mean, she's like another person.
Yes.
And it's great because I've seen you like blossom and come out of your shell and be a lot less. I mean, to the point where Pat was like, I'm ready for leadership. I was like, okay, Pat, like she's ready to go.
I've learned to get out of my comfort zone.
I love
and
it.
I loved being in my comfort zone. I
We all
was
do.
fine doing it. But now I thrive on it. I enjoy pushing myself
Yeah.
to do other things that I haven't done before.
And growth never happens in your comfort zone.
No, it does
So
not.
it's so
and
important.
it's not comfortable.
Yeah.
It can't be comfortable.
You have to be comfortable with the uncomfortable, That was like my big thing in 2025, and my vision board was like doing all the things I thought I wasn't capable of doing. Because like the only way you're ever going to know if you're capable is by pushing yourself to new limits, right?
And you don't know how much how you're pushing yourself pushes everybody else that's coming with you, right?
Right.
Because whatever you're doing in Miss Esquire, you and Trish, makes all of us grow as well. So we're following you. We're right there, right behind you.
I love Papa could be like a whole, I don't know how much I owe you after this.
I owe you.
She's fantastic. Amazing.
What about, going back to you growing your business and being an entrepreneur, what's the biggest challenge that you face?
Currently.
Currently, it's scaling without compromising standards. I keep going back to that. Every day I think to myself, what do I have to do to grow, to have an impact on other people, on the world? And I know maybe this sounds a little corny, but I believe that we're here to be of service.
That is
So
great.
how can I be of service, but at the same time be successful?
So how do you achieve that balance?
I go a lot with my heart. I use my brain a lot. I am very, very, up in my head, but I use my heart and I think, am I doing what, when I go to bed at night, am I okay with my conscience?
Right.
Or when I meet God, will I be, no, will he say, you were a good human being. You
Yeah.
did provide service and you did it with integrity.
I love it. How is do you feel like in a climate that we're in right now, do you feel like you appreciate what you do even more, over the years?
Mm,
You mean like with everything going on right now with immigration and, how valuable your guys' services, do you feel like that or just
I've always felt
That's-
that my profession is valuable. I've always felt that it can create bridges. I've always felt that it can change people's lives from a relationship, that Russian woman with
Right.
the boyfriend, to a trial, to a malpractice. I mean, and I've never felt that one thing is more important than other. Everything is important.
I love it.
What piece of advice would you give to other service professionals who are thinking about starting their own business?
Yeah.
I think it's about knowing what you do, knowing it in different aspects and being prepared, having processes and systems so that as you grow, you can be an entrepreneur. You're not just stuck being, or not stuck, I shouldn't use the word stuck, but you're not just a subcontractor. You can think of a brand, you can think of a culture. But in order to do that, first of all, you have to know what you're talking about.
Right.
Yeah. One thing that I love about Pat is like even she met like some other entrepreneurs slash also other interpreters in our group, and she's been kind of like a mentor to that other interpreter,
That's
which
great.
I love it because oftentimes people feel like they don't want to meet or connect with somebody who does the same thing as them. But I feel like abundance is
Right.
key. And if you learn something, it's like you're helping that person also grow their family, their dreams, their vision. So what a beautiful gift it is to be able to like pay it forward, right?
I just had a new member reach out to me from one of our groups, and she didn't know if what she had done was correct. And I said, I'm here. I will hold your hand throughout this whole process. You will be one of us. You will feel comfortable and you will see how your business grows. It's just you're not alone. We're not that kind of a group.
Right.
We all welcome new members.
Yeah.
We all want everybody's success. And that's where the Miss Esquire group is so different.
Yeah. So I love and I appreciate so much you've taken the time to like also coach and mentor people in here. I think it's like a blessing that also people don't realize how much it also gives you, because I remember the person that paid it forward to me when I first started my business, I had to learn everything. And I was transitioning a totally different law practice, which when you do something for a really long time, it's hard to like learn something. You're like, oh, I got to learn something
Right.
completely new. People don't understand that we can't just practice all kinds of law. Like there is a lot of things we need to learn in the process. But I had one person that I met through Miss Esquire that really helped me and answered all the questions. To this day. She'll still answer my phone calls. A lot less phone calls now than they were like, 5 years ago. But she helped me in the process and I can't thank her enough. And I know that's
That's
what you're doing
invaluable.
for somebody else, because that is the reason that I get to do what I love, and that I made it so much easier and allowed me to feel comfortable in the unknown of like an area that I had never practiced, and that I get to feed my kids from.
Thank you, everyone, for listening. We at Miss Esquire hope that you continue to grow your network and your net worth until we see you on the next episode.
And for more information on how to join one of our in-person communities or virtual, email us at admin@missesquire.com.